We got Dispatch coming in later in the day as well. Are you gonna watch the gay hockey show on HBO? Maybe.
There's a gay hockey show?
Apparently, the guy who made what's the Letterkenny? It's Canadian. The guy that almost exclusively makes Canadian hockey movies and TV shows made another one.
How many
but
times
this time
you
it's
spam that thing in the chat?
Nonstop. Yep. Technically, basketball is much more intensive. I mean, basketball, I would say, has many more dimensions. There's a lot more. Like, I feel like with soccer, you're obviously jumping a lot less.
Yeah.
It requires a different type of athleticism that I think is more well-rounded as opposed to soccer. Soccer is like more so focused on soccer. You got skill, you need endurance, you need more endurance than basketball.
Hold on.
Whereas in basketball,
I will agree. You jump more in basketball for sure, guys. Come on.
Yes.
He's right on that. You definitely jump more in basketball.
You need more. You need more plyo. You need more plyometrics.
He didn't say that you don't jump at all in soccer. You obviously jump for headers, but
oh my god, people are so fucking annoying.
Like he didn't you don't jump like you do jump in soccer, but you objectively jump more in basketball. But in soccer you contort.
Dude, we're talking to a bunch of fucking nerds, many of which are European and they're being intentionally obtuse, right? Sports nerds are 100% worse than politics nerds. I agree. I live in Nebraska, of course. Like, it's so funny. I'm not even saying basketball is harder than soccer in general. I'm simply stating facts. You need a different level of physicality for basketball than you do for soccer. And basketball is more well-rounded and more dynamic than soccer, even though you need tremendous amounts of skill for soccer. And you need more endurance for soccer than you do for basketball, in my opinion.
Are you saying that like you need
basketball? All you need is height. Oh my god.
Are you saying like because like in soccer, like you got to contort your hips and legs and feet like in different all sorts of odd, weird angles and directions, and in the position of your body and everything with in relation to the ball and the other players is important. You know.
This is a ridiculous argument conversation. It's also the classic. It's a classic conversation. I don't know enough about hockey to speak on that. I can't speak on hockey. I can't even speak on football, like American football. Yeah, they're hard in different ways. But I would say that, like, I think maybe I'm biased, but I think basketball is the most well-rounded one because you need to use your upper body more than you do in fucking soccer. Okay, is that controversial? You need to use your arms in basketball, whereas you can't really use your arms in soccer.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think you need to be more well-rounded.
You do use your body in soccer, though.
Yes, of course.
You use your upper body more than like you don't like you're not like hitting the ball with your hands.
Throw-ins.
No, but like
you're gonna say that's the same level as like shooting consistently or layups.
You would use your body to like box somebody out of the ball, right? Like position somebody out. I know, like, but
that's still coming from your lower body strength.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I shoulder checked a few people before. I got one red card in my entire soccer career.
You got a red card?
Yeah, I told the way it went was. I was pissed because I was like 16 and I had never gotten a red card before and I kind of felt like a bitch. So I made it my goal to get a yellow card because I'd never gotten a yellow card before. And all my teammates had gotten yellow cards and I wanted to feel tough. So I spent the entire game trying to get a yellow card. And some guy, I played really aggressively and like I shoved the guy out of bounds or something. And they didn't give me a yellow card, and the kid comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, watch it." And I said, "Go fuck yourself." And then the ref heard me, and then he gave me a red card.
I do think you need more endurance for soccer, but I agree with you otherwise. No, that's what I said too. I said you need more endurance for soccer than basketball. I said that. I also say, so you agree with me 100%. Anyway, what is this? So, okay, well, you don't use your feet the same way in basketball, so what's your point? I agree with you, by the way. Okay, whatever. Let's watch this. This is a kick streamer who apparently wanted to ball up with the MB. By Jimmy, some content creator came into to the runs today and wanted to play me one-on-one for content. I wonder why, Lamau.
You can't lose to the guy who's wearing short shorts. Not a good look, bro.
You think like you're gonna beat me or some shit?
I might have a chance.
Let's go. Do or die. I'll go easy on you, all right?
Oh my god! Oh, absolutely got fucking cumstered on. Get mogged by the Vemper. Oh my god. Comment section was full of foul as hell, but Tuck It and Bucket was bars though. I'd crack, but no one's gonna know because this is gonna be at the bottom. Why aren't my boys this crackable? looking like Violet Myers. Tuck it in bucket. Tuck it in bucket is crazy. Tuck it in bucket is actually bars.
What do I do, bro? You gotta grow at least like 5 more inches. Put your ass up, Peter Griffin.
You gotta grow 5 more inches. Yo, they got great handles too. Oh my. Oh, it's stinky. Oh my God. They confused him. Oh no. And he came up. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Oh, he's got the gear is falling off. Is that a shoe? Did he lose a shoe? What the hell, bro? Oh no. Look at that. Look. He lost a shoe. Oh, that's dead. Oh, this is. Oh my God. Oh my fucking Lord, dude. The OP mentioned he was hamming it for a gambling sponsor. Yeah. They fucked him up so hard. He dropped like he dropped the Sonic rings. Oh my Lord. Oh no, he had the fucking heel elevation in there too. That's crazy. Dropped his loot. Gross. Rain bet.
Okay.
To the rain bet chatters, this is what I got. Okay. Everything is a fucking betting ad on the internet, and that's why I need to show you my goat. Okay. I need to show you my goat. Hold on. We're gonna do this again.
Betting apps, you hate betting apps. Yes, I hate betting apps. And I will never promote a betting app. So what? So many people have ruined their lives because of betting apps. That's why I hate them. So many youngsters have even lost their lives because of betting apps.
Yes.
That's why I hate them. And betting apps are a huge fraud. That's why I hate them. So what? But I don't understand why are big celebrities promoting these betting apps? And why isn't the government banning these betting apps?
Yes.
But one thing is true. I have never promoted a betting app and I will never promote in the future.
My fucking goat. Yeah. Dude, spit king. Absolutely spitting. That's my goat right there. Honestly, that's how I feel. That's how I feel all the time. I'm like, why the fuck's going on with all these goddamn betting apps, dude? The fuck's going on?
Well, every time I bet, I lose.
Yeah, except for me in Hong Kong.
Well, yeah, clearly.
Did you see that's the new dude, it's so funny when these guys like try to start the new wave of controversy, and apparently the new wave of controversy is that like
That you're a gambler?
I hate animals because like I love when horses get punished or something. I don't fucking know.
No.
They were like, socialists, by the way.
Oh no.
They didn't even understand.
Oh my
They were
God,
like,
they've gone so far to the right, they're woke now.
yeah, they're
They're
like
woke.
they're like, oh, socialists.
Oh, they're doing woke.
Socialist who loves hurting animals, and also socialist who loves betting.
So far to the right.
Socialist who's dumping. Socialist who's so rich he dumped 30,000 American
dollars.
American dollars into horse betting. They didn't even understand. Like I was showing it on purpose, and it wasn't that I dropped 30 bills. I won 30,000,
which is three grand, I think. In Hong
No,
Kong.
it was almost $5,000. I saw leftists on TikTok shitting on you for horse betting. Yes, because let's be real, we don't deserve anything. We don't. We only deserve pain. We deserve to lose. Let's be real. Look,
Got that.
socialist, flashing money in designer clothes. This guy plays his fans for fools. I love that these guys don't understand. Like, you're just describing what I'm doing. Like, this is what I posted. You just literally described, like, yeah, I posted that. What makes you think people are oblivious to what's going on in the photo that I personally posted? It's so funny. Anyway, they hate on you for betting, not for horse betting.
They gotta get me to win when I can't get hooked. I gotta, every time I go to Vegas, I'm gonna have a chat with the manager. I'm gonna say, look, you gotta give me a win. Give me a winning weekend. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, how the fuck am I don't know how people get hooked with, I lose constantly. Like, you can't give me one winning weekend. And you know what? I'm not gonna tell them this, but I would just walk away. Once I win, I walk away. That's it.
Well, they know that. That's why
I'm the worst.
That's why they know you'll walk
I'm the
away.
worst.
They know you'll walk away.
They know I couldn't even say it with a straight face when I was trying to get an upgrade.
It's not that
I
they
told
think,
them I was going to gamble, and they knew I wasn't going to fucking gamble. They see my history.
It's not that they think you're stupid. They think we're stupid for supporting you. They see you as some sort of trickster because they still believe socialism is a poverty cult. Yeah, they called you a CCP agent for being excited over the same thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I got to go to the
All
gym.
right, get out of here.
I gotta go to the
Get out
gym.
of here. Get out of here, Austin. All right. He'll be back. He'll be back on the stream in a little bit. Okay, he won't be back on the podcast because he's got the Vikings game. Yeah. Also, if you want to know more about like difference between this is kind of like the fucking call HR meme, right? Like I went to the Huawei store and I pogged over the Huawei store and everybody's like, oh, he must be a CCP agent. But then a week after, I went to the Huawei store and thought it was cool that they had like so many different tech things that were available. And then immediately someone goes, no wonder that shit's banned over there. Huawei would be like, are you confused whether to take a tab, PC, or a laptop? Don't worry, we got you covered. 68,000 likes. No wonder that shit's banned over here. 160,000 likes. How was looking at cool tech bad? No, you don't understand. I was looking at cool tech in China, already bad, and also doing it as looking at cool tech in China and doing it as a leftist in China. None of that is appropriate. All of our tickets from China, I know. The China is the part does bad for them. Yeah. Anyway, cool tech in parentheses communism. They said if it was Apple, the kickstand alone would cost 200 plus. Brother, I want to see the laptop. I have seen this before. This is pretty crazy. That's crazy. I think you guys use it in China in that store, and we consider this probably priced too low, and therefore will lead to China's economic collapse. Dude, that's a portable monitor. No, it's a tablet. It's a foldable tablet that you can literally use as a huge screen. It's like Tofu Drake tablet. It's true. It's all in one. The foldable stuff is pretty crazy. Huawei is like cooking with the foldable shit. You can literally use it as such. You can use it as like a laptop basically if you want. Like this can turn into a keyboard or yeah, see? Or you can make it an even larger. Terrible user experience. Nobody would actually use that long-term law. I mean, I don't know. They're fucking selling them. The craziest one I think is the triple foldable, the trifold phones that straight up turn into an iPad. It goes from a phone into an iPad. I feel like that's wild. That one's pretty crazy. Also, Huawei is generous to their employees and their ESOP. I want a trifold. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the HDR or if it's like the base boosted graphics or whatever, but the photos are bomb. And that's pretty much all I care about. The only thing I care about is the fucking photos. Camera is top tier. Yeah. All right. There was if you need to play this, thank you to Macy's. There were some videos that I wanted to watch, but CCP are censoring Japanese performers in China. Yeah, I saw they're doing BDS to Japan right now over Japan's statements on Taiwan. The new right-wing Japanese PM said that they would militarily involve themselves with Taiwan. And that was obviously like a major fucking no-no. That was a major no-no because like I think technically, wait, what are you doing? Oh, watch out. Technically, in 1945, the entire when it was technically in 1945 pre end of the Civil War, I think it was like that story was blown up on my trip. Exactly. It was Taiwan was a part of the ROC, and then the official recognition came with Nixon and Kissinger for PRC, People's Republic of China, mainland China. And the official Japanese stance is the same as the official American stance, which is that Taiwan is a part of China, right? That is the official stance of both of these countries. So when Japan says like, oh, we're going to militarily involve ourselves with Taiwan, of course, for many Chinese people and the government, it's a you know, how do I describe it? It's a very old wound that isn't that old, if you know what I mean. It's a reminder of Japanese colonization of China. So they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna take that in stride. They're definitely, understandably, going to feel not very chill about that. And they reacted it with, I think they went back and I think it was like 400,000 trips from China to Japan were canceled. 400,000 trips from China to Japan were canceled. I think Osaka travel, like tourism, is down like 40% already, because a major part of Japanese tourism is also Chinese tourism. You know, Chinese tourists going to Japan. And then also, because I was, this shit's been all over my Twitter timeline, but like, they've canceled every single Japanese artist that was slated to perform in mainland China. Every single one, including one that was really fucked up, where this like Japanese lady was like literally singing at the Bandai Namco performance in Shanghai. They stopped it mid-performance while she was on stage. Okay, but isn't it insane to punish artists? No, they do not fuck around, man. I agree. I don't disagree with you, but this is the level that they're taking it in terms of boycotts. That was an anime convention. They also canceled the following 2 days of the convention. Yeah. It is pretty wild, though, like how much of an impact this has had. Look, yeah, I saw this. The Chinese government's call on citizens to stop visiting Japan is hitting Osaka. Some hotels are reporting 50 to 70% of room reservations have been canceled. China was the #1 source of foreign tourists to Osaka this year.
そう50%から70%。
I wish China had the same smoke for Israel. If you think that there is a tremendous amount of Chinese travel to Israel and Chinese tourism to Israel, I think you're wrong. Like, Chinese travel to Japan is massive, okay? It's a major part of Japanese tourism. I don't think Chinese people are traveling to Israel by large numbers. You're not wrong in terms of, like, I wish they would boycott trade. I wish they would stop trade. But I'll have you know that while mainland China has boycotted Japanese artists, they haven't stopped trading with Japan, if you noticed. Like, because China is always trade maxing. They will never stop trade. Like, if there was a moment where the trade maxers in China would actually stop trade, it would be right now with Japan, and they still aren't doing it. Yeah, so Japan is not too excited about the volume of their tourism. I mean, the Japanese population might be excited that, like, the Chinese aren't coming in droves into Japan, but the Japanese government is not going to be excited about that, because the Japanese government understands that their economy heavily relies on tourism, specifically Chinese tourism. There's a really good one-dime video from like a day ago about China's relations with Israel. Oh, really? Haven't we already determined economic sanctions don't do anything anyways? Maybe cultural boycott is better? That's not true. No, economic sanctions do work on allies. You have a lot more control with trade restriction when you actually are restricting trade from allies. You have a lot. You have much less control over your adversaries, like America versus Russia, right? No matter how powerful America is, no matter how powerful America is over Russia, if the goal, or no matter how powerful America is around the global stage, Russia is a foreign adversary that has designed its entire economy around avoiding American sanctions. So when they got hit with the mother of all sanctions, they still figured out ways to get around it, and they continued. I was interviewed for this Bloomberg article about China delaying the release of Japanese films after Takeichi's Taiwan remarks. Japan-China spat clouds anime booms momentum in China. It is noteworthy that Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, which has made tens of millions of dollars in China, has not been pulled from theaters, said Jeffrey Hall, a lecturer at Kondo University of International Studies in Chiba Prefecture. Pulling the film might spark a backlash in China given the immense popularity of the franchise, while ticket sales around the world would have dulled any pain inflicted, he said. It looks like the appearance of taking strict action to punish Japan rather than the reality of the results might matter more to Beijing. The people crave demons to slay? Yeah. I saw a video of a tourist asking a Japanese vendor who were his favorite tourists, and he said Chinese. They asked why, and the vendor said Chinese tourists might be loud in groups, but they buy a lot of stuff, and Western tourists are polite and like to talk to him, but they don't buy anything. Yeah, Chinese tourists love purchasing shit. It's true. Anything that's limited edition, they will buy. What is this? That didn't take long. Trump's trade deals already blowing up industries and governments in Asia.
It's hard for policy analysts to make sense of the news out of Washington or from other capitals after.
Meanwhile, American tourists in Japan. Oh yeah, I saw this. This is not even just American tourists, but U.S. military police have suspended solo patrols in Okinawa after they wrongly body slammed and detained an American civilian who was visiting and not under their jurisdiction. Brother, this is one of the craziest fucking things. Just American cops, even if they're military cops, behaving like cops in fucking Okinawa, illegally, by the way. Like this is not their jurisdiction. Military police is not supposed to be, first of all, patrolling the streets of Japan. And the only time where they're supposed to be operating off base is if they're trying to rein in, I don't know, like a drunk rapist Marine or something, right? And even then, it's supposed to be handled by the Japanese police, and then the military police comes in after the fact. There is like some strict restrictions about this because, like, otherwise, are you actually technically colonizing? What is your ousting position on Taiwan? I haven't been there. If you made it clear many times, I am in favor of whatever the Taiwanese people want to do, and from what I understand, the overwhelmingly popular position, especially currently, has been to not rock the boat. Status quo. Status quo in the direction of independence obviously is higher, but status quo for now and then potentially independence in the future is the highest ranking. But the highest ranking is always status quo, just status quo. Like continuing with current status quo is the highest ranking position in Taiwan. And that is obviously understandable considering that they just don't want like instability. There are many people in Taiwan. First of all, people in Taiwan are also, Chinese. They're Chinese, right? And while they're Chinese, they get basically the best of both worlds, right? For the longest time, Taipei has been able to have strong trade relations with mainland China and build factories in mainland China, like business. Free Taiwan says a white guy. I didn't say that. Okay. For the longest time, in the aftermath of the KMT escaping, Chiang Kai-shek's forces escaping into the island of Formosa, now known as Taiwan, and then basically eradicating the indigenous population there, and creating the stronghold of the Republic of China, which literally thinks it owns the entirety of the mainland China, including like even more parts of Mongolia, right? Which was, in the beginning. The KMT's current position is actually normalizing relations with China as opposed to moving in the direction of America. The other party that won in the last elections is the CIA-backed, America-backed party, and they are very much anti-normalizing relations with China. Having said that, however, for the longest time, Taiwan has been able to take advantage. Yeah, the DPP. Taiwan has been able to take advantage of being a like Western base, basically, for American interests in terms of encircling China, and therefore have had great trade relations with America, and also have been able to develop tremendously with American investment while simultaneously building factories in China and having good manufacturing relations in China, in mainland China. So they were able to win the best of both worlds. Having said that, what ended up happening now is that mainland China has advanced so much that I feel like regardless of the trade advantages that Taiwan initially had, there can be an argument made that like mainland China has moved beyond the advancements that Taiwan had with its unique position, having one foot in mainland China and then another in the West. But still, there are many people from Taiwan that work in China, right? There are more advantages for people who live in Taiwan to continue the regular to continue status quo politics with mainland China instead of trying to cut ties, because the economy in Taiwan absolutely relies on mainland China. And I don't think it'll ever get to a point where Taiwan will be able to completely sever ties with mainland China. Don't you think Taiwan's capitalist hubs have been beneficial for China too? I think it's been more beneficial for Taiwan than it has been for, like, it's in terms of like economic gains. I think it's far more beneficial for Taiwan than it is for mainland China in general. It's infinitely better for mainland China for Taiwan to just be a part of China completely, not even like a two systems style, but just like straight up a part of the mainland. China's interest in Taiwan are entirely national security related, and maybe also like, you know, some nationalistic points of view as well. They're like, oh, these guys are Chinese, but the highest priority for the CPC there is obviously they don't want a fucking military base on this island that's like 100 kilometers off the coastline. An American military base with American weapons 100 kilometers off the coastline of mainland China. Wait, so is it like Hong Kong? No, it's different than Hong Kong, technically. It's different than Hong Kong in some ways because Hong Kong is on a lease agreement, and it was a colonial outpost, just like Macau was Portuguese. Hong Kong is British, right? But both Macau and Hong Kong are a part of one country, two systems, where despite the fact that since 1997, unification efforts have started. They are still, as we saw personally in Hong Kong, governed in a Western style, right? They're governed by they have British outlets. They drive on the right side of the road, right? Like they have it's you need a visa. You can do visa-free travel to Hong Kong still from the West, but you can't do that for China unless you get like a 10-day transit visa, right? So. Yeah, more like on the wrong side of the road. Yes, the left side, whatever. The steering wheel is in the right side of the car. Anyway, so those who support Taiwan independence may not realize that neither the United States nor Japan, Taiwan's closest allies, recognize Taiwan as a country and have not established diplomatic relations with it. It's quite ironic. Yeah, but it's called strategic ambiguity, as in America will supply weapons for defense for Taiwan, while simultaneously, on paper, they do not recognize Taiwan as an independent nation state. You know what's hella embarrassing when your kids catch you napping with the TV paused on Hassan being handsome in a heteronormative way? Okay. Anyway, but this is the last thing I'm going to show you before we move on to some interesting videos like infiltrating Nick Fuentes' Groyper Army and videos like that. This is the American military base, the Marine base in Okinawa, causing many problems. And this time, as this Twitter user says, the concept of American soldiers casually patrolling a city in another country is really fucking demonic if you think about it. America is such a terrorist country. U.S. military, a couple weeks prior to this incident, there was some news about U.S. military police basically patrolling the streets of Okinawa, which is illegal. Like it's inappropriate. It's illegal. The base is already quite controversial in its existence, and there are always protests against it for understandable reasons. There's a lot of drunk Marines that end up causing issues, killing Japanese people. In any case, basically, they got into some extra trouble here.
What the Yo, what are you doing? I told you not to You have no right to touch me right now. Get the video, bro. What is your name? What is your name?
When I lived in Okinawa, I had a coworker say the protesters off base that showed up every week outside of that Air Force base were paid by the Chinese. When we act like this is it, makes sense. They want us gone. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, this was the initial thing that I saw. This went viral overnight. The context of the U.S. military police recently started solo patrols in Okinawa without Japanese police escorts. They are trying to enforce a curfew on military service members, which is meant to prevent late-night trouble and crimes. They only have the authority to detain U.S. service members. The man they targeted is a former Marine captain who is now a civilian. The MPs should not have the authority to detain him for not showing his ID. The patrols have been halted so that retaining can take place. But yeah, you got a black vet, okay, who is now a civilian, and you have the American military police beating He's slamming into the fucking
Hit
ground.
the video, bro.
It's not retaining, retraining. Sorry, I think not retaining.
What is your name? What is your name?
You have no right to detain me. I'm not under your policy.
You are in our jurisdiction, so we still have the right to
So could you detain a Japanese guy over there?
Yes, you can.
You can detain a random Japanese citizen
detain a Japanese
for not
citizen.
showing you their ID.
Yes, and then we can pass them over to the Japanese people.
No, the fuck they can't.
Why, thank you.
No, the fuck they can't. What is this? For a psychology course, Turning Point USA, Oklahoma, Samantha Fulnecki was asked to write a 650-word essay reacting to an article about how people are perceived based on societal expectations of gender. In her essay, Fulnecki argued that traditional gender roles should not be considered stereotypes. She cited the Bible to support her stance that eliminating gender in society would be detrimental because that would put people farther from God's original plan for humans. She received 0 points out of 25 on the essay. Transgender professor Mel Curtis said Mrs. Fulnecki failed to use empirical evidence and called parts of her essay offensive. To call an entire group of people demonic is highly offensive, especially a minoritized population, the instructor wrote in an online grading platform. Fulnecki says she followed the assignment guidelines that should not be penalized for her religious viewpoints. OU officials point to the formal grade appeals process as the student awaits a decision. We at Turning Point OU stand with Samantha. We should not be letting mentally ill professors around students. She deserves 25 out of 25, honestly, really? Like, you want to... I love the people that go, affirmative action is devastating. Instantly going, oh no, we should give her the full 100 for agreeing with my stupid ass worldview. If the essay is ass, the essay is ass. If she cited nothing, oh, you mean negative 25? Oh, my bad. I thought you were saying the trans professor's replies. Samantha's essay. This article is very thought-provoking and caused me to thoroughly evaluate the idea and gender and its role it plays in society. The article discussed peers using teasing as a way to enforce gender norms. I do not necessarily see this as a problem. God made male and female and made us differently from each other. Bro, you can't, can you, unless you're doing a study on like a class on theology, I don't think you can cite the Bible, right? What the fuck? You can't do a psych course and then be like, here, I'm citing the Bible. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it if it's a course on the Bible, if it's a course on theology, but I don't think you can cite your sources as the Bible. Like if you're a creationist, it's like going to a class on evolution and being like, this is all fake. Please give me 100. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was like that. I didn't realize you could just do that. That's a cheat code. You could just be like, I'm Christian and my source is God. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, God promised me an A+ in this course, and if you don't give me the A+ that God promised me, then you're defying God. The Riley Gainsing of America being 5th place is the fault of trans and not that I fucking suck. Yeah. I mean, what's the point here? Like, if you're, I guess in the future, if you're, and I guess this happens right now anyway, but like, if you are in any way, shape, or form trans and you're a teacher or if you're doing whatever the fuck, like, ultimately you're cooked. Like, everyone will just go, oh, the professor was trans. Automatically disagree. Teacher got fired. Jesus Christ. That's, I mean, my mom said it's Oklahoma, except it's literally, you know, it's a university. It's a little different. A university is supposed to abide by very different standards, I feel like, than the public schooling. Chad is exaggerating. Teacher is on administrative leave. That's still crazy. She got more penalties than a cop that kills people. This reminds me of the time I put 30 references in an essay about how China is not the evil empire looking to expand in Asia and that America is actually that. And my lecturer was like, nah, we are allied with the US, but China isn't. Ruin my GPA for that. I used to work there. There's a whole LGBTQ ally program and all that shit. I used to teach there in the biology department. Yeah, except I assume that when you taught there, you know, woke was ruining the country. And now I feel like we have a reorientation. It seems like we have this new thing where college campuses are terrified of, college campuses are genuinely scared about the administration taking away their grants and stuff. So they're just basically fucking playing ball as aggressively as they can. And in the process of doing so,
if you've been online for
in the process of doing so, they're becoming more and more right wing. Hong Kong Hong Kong or Chinese in New York City, trust me, don't go to Taiwan. People know you there and they fucking hate you. Lol. It's very much white horror in Taiwan again. Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, I went to Hong Kong. And people didn't have issues with me there either. The MAGA Chinese will get you. Maybe. It's like saying don't go to Texas. It's a red state, you know? Don't go to any red state. They hate you there. Okay. Well, yeah. I still do it. There's still always people who don't, you know? There's fans and haters no matter where. Yeah, but people are weird as fuck in Hong Kong. All of chat noticed it too. No, they weren't. I mean, people were more aggressive in general, but not just to me. Just like culturally, there was more, like Cantonese is more is a little bit, like I would say, is a little bit louder. But ultimately, there were way more fans that showed up on Hong Kong, and they were chill as hell. Hong Kong is just like a little bit more chaotic. Don't go to Texas because it sucks. I like Texas. I have friends in Texas. Honestly, between Taiwan and Texas, I think Texas would be the bigger danger for you. Yes. Remember, going to red states is not a danger because there's haters there. Going to red states is a danger because there's less gun control. like it's not a meme when I say like, oh, I'm fine pretty much everywhere I go. Haters and lovers alike exist everywhere, but ultimately the bigger problem is whether someone can easily have a gun or not, you know? No Discord notification? Really? Careful, Abe dropped his guard too. Yeah, I don't think I have the same level of prominence and hatred that like a former prime minister would have. All right. Anyway, let's continue. I got both Twitch and Discord noties. Nice. Even in the most gun restricted states, it's easier and cheaper to get a gun illegally because the rest of the US is FF'd. Okay. Let's we were watching this earlier. This is two Hasanabi heads, Ben a Minute and Eric Hovagim, who made a YouTube video a month ago where they infiltrated Nick Fuentes' Groyper army. And let's take a look. This is where we were.
The clips.
Most people watch Nick Fuentes through
because
the clips.
Nick has been banned off most of the woke mainstream sites like YouTube, his content has been able to find a nice home in the form of shorts, reels, and TikToks posted by fan accounts. I guess the woke apps don't really care as long as the hate speech is short, to the point, and under a minute long.
We're putting you in the labubu. I don't know how to say this, but you're going in the labubu. And Gavin Newsom will put you there.
Okay, so from first glance, I guess I kind of get the appeal of some of his content. I mean, if I had no idea who this guy was and I just saw this...
All you have is your vote. It is the billionaires, it is the oligarchs that make the decisions for all of us. It is the billionaires that make the giant campaign contributions. They make the decisions in the public and private sector that affect all of us. What do we have? We have our vote.
I would agree with him. And this is what makes Nick not just unique in the vast pool of right-wing commentators, but also extremely dangerous for the future of American politics. Whether you love him or hate him, Trump and his administration is becoming more unpopular every day. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think MAGA or the new Republican Party can survive without Trump himself. And one day, who knows when, but one day, there will be no Trump. And the Republican Party is going to have to find a new identity post-MAGA. Well, I believe Nick knows this, and is planning and laying the groundwork for what comes next for American conservatives. And I promise you, it's not going to be J.D. Vance. Nick and I can both agree on that.
J.D. Vance was created by the fortune created by Palantir.
So far, Nick has been able to fill the gaps with the majority of disenfranchised young people who are starting to doubt Trump's leadership and overall plan for the country. Through economic populist rhetoric, Nick speaks to relatable problems for any young person, or more specifically, young white men.
Oh, okay, you won't forgive my student loans? Okay, well, that's because the free market said so. The free market says that Republicans have enough money to bomb Iran, but not enough money to pay for my student loans. And I'm going to vote for that because I'm an idiot.
With leaders in neither political party being able to speak like this, other than a few on the left like Zohran Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie, and now I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene?
This is the number one issue I hear about in my district. Health insurance premiums are unaffordable. That's our job, bringing taxpayer dollars back to our districts that help our communities, roads, water projects, you name it.
Anyway, Nick is quickly filling an empty space that the left must develop a counter to immediately. If Nick is playing the long game here, which I believe he is, then we have to as well. So today I hope to lay out what we can do to help combat the rise of Christian nationalism disguised as economic populism, and hopefully speak directly to the Groypers watching, to validate their frustrations with the status quo, while trying to show them that a better world is possible, without Nick's conclusions around Jews, immigrants, and women. But before we get into that, have you ever tried Googling yourself before? Like actually typed your full name into Google and hit search. Been a minute. What the hell?
Ethical reaction.
Chances are your phone number, address, maybe even your relative's info is just sitting out there on dozens of random websites. This is all thanks to the work of data brokers. Companies that gather your personal information, build detailed profiles on you, and then sell them to advertisers, marketers, and sometimes even scammers. This is how your data leaks turn into spam calls, identity theft, and a complete loss of control over your privacy. But that's why I use today's sponsor, Incogni. If for some reason this is your first time on YouTube and you don't know what Incogni is, it's a privacy tool that contacts data brokers on your behalf and then forces them to delete your personal data automatically. They handle all of the legal back.
Cannot get over the fact that liberals have put so much time and effort towards convincing people Hassan is worse than Fuentes. I can understand it.
Back and forth. You just click and it's
I've
gone.
talked about
and
this
with their new
extensively
custom
at this
removals
point, but
feature,
like,
you can submit links to any site you find exposing your info.
a lot of these people are not even
ones outside of
liberals
their automated
necessarily.
network.
A lot of these people are not even liberals necessarily. It's like it's people that have their own personal anger and their own personal hatred for me. You know, like the sex pastini community. And then there is also the Asmongold style, you know, supposedly apolitical people who present themselves as apolitical, but they're actually right wing, that openly promote Nick Fuentes, and the entire slop tuber contingency that is far more right wing than they openly admit. But that's what it is. Like if you're taking it from all angles, which is understandable, I think a lot of these people basically see it as like. A lot of these people basically see me as an ideological op, whereas they see Nick Fuentes not as an ideological op. They see it as like maybe someone that's more extreme than they are, right? But they don't see someone like Nick Fuentes as like a serious, serious enemy. That's it.
.com/Benaminute. When you click that link, it helps support this channel, and it also gives you a huge discount on a very helpful tool. If you're tired of being tracked, spammed, and exposed, it's time to fight back and give you one less thing to worry about. And thank you to Incogni for sponsoring today's video. Okay, back to it.
Also, you also have to remember, like, a lot of this stuff is not like these people. I don't think these people are like ideologically anti-communist or anti-socialist or anything. They've just been like, they're not super well read or have well-defined worldviews. They just look to the current system and think like there is no better alternative, or rather that the alternative is incredibly scary. I don't even necessarily fault a lot of these guys for having these sorts of opinions, because this is all they've known. They're American. They live in the West. They've been taught that like every other country and its people are, or especially if they're designated as like foreign adversaries, are scary and dangerous. Even if said foreign adversary is doing like the same thing that we're doing, for example, or doing it to a much lesser degree, we have a tendency to look at that and think, no, this is like much more damaging. It's much more devastating when they do it, right? I mean, the funniest dynamic with China, for example, is like, when China does something like mass surveillance, or when China tries to implement like some kind of credit system, right? And it's not even like a national project or anything, and it actually ends up not happening. Although we have a literal credit system already, we look to the Chinese social credit system when we make like we make it a much larger deal than it actually is, right? We already have a credit system. They don't even have a credit system. Like, there were pilot programs, and then they shelved it. And yet it's still a much larger, it's still a much larger, much more consequential, is brought up as a much larger and much more consequential problem when it's like China doing it. And then even on the alternative side, even when China's doing something good, the way it's presented in the media is like, at what cost? China's green energy revitalization efforts have been very successful, but at what cost? Right? So it's always seen through this like negative framework. So when you're pummeled with that kind of commentary, when you're pummeled with that kind of attitude, you basically take that on as a given, and you don't really think about it. And then if there's anyone out there who has reached a level of prominence that is telling you like, no, that's devoid of nuance, there's more context here, it's not as it seems, and someone like myself who doesn't take like a very black and white approach or a black and white hardened stance against foreign adversaries, people say I'm, an enemy of the state, I'm an enemy of America, an enemy of the way that they understand the world. And then they have a lot of resentment. So instead of trying to look at the argument that I'm presenting, they try to seek out ways in which I'm wrong. Oh, I'm wrong because I'm a socialist who's rich, right? I'm a grifter. I must be a grifter. And if you were to scratch the surface of that argument and think about it, it's like, who the fuck would grift to the left? If someone is going to grift, they should just become right-wingers, right? Like, why would anybody grift to the left? It doesn't make any sense. Instead of identifying that issue with this commentary, identifying the issue with this like line of reasoning, I think they still just like kind of lean into that. I still have not understood the concept of a nation state, America being one of them. Anyway, let's continue.
The Nick's Groyper community has one motto that all of their beliefs fall under, and that motto is America First. Also the name of his live stream show. Nick's definition of America First sort of works as a catch-all term for preaching his ideologies and neo-Nazi talking points. Because Nick's view of what America is and what America should be is the same as most white Christian nationalists. To them, America is the land of opportunity and freedom for everyone who is, you guessed it, ethnically white and ideologically Christian or Catholic, just like Nick.
Everything good is over. This country is going to be mostly non-white by the end of this century.
According to white Christian nationalists, any other race, ethnicity, religion, culture, or foreign influence taints the purity of America. And this is why your material problems can be directly attributed to immigrants, black people.
Could you give a little bit more nuance with why you can't grift to the left like you can the right? I've heard you say it a lot, but I'm just a little bit confused. I mean, think about it this way. Every single day, I have to sit here and tackle like minor differences in opinion from people who turn around and make it seem as though these minor differences in opinion is actually a major consequential delineation from the way that they see the world. And then automatically they assume that that is actually like, automatically that means that, I'm a fucking bad person who's like a white supremacist, right? Like this is just how the left operates. They are hyper focused on hyper scrutinizing every single person and engaging in purity spirals, right? I am an independent with no corporate sponsors, with no corporate donations or anything like that. There is no concentration of wealth and power that thinks that my commentary is good for them, because it's not. At the end of the day, if you're on the left, you are going to be anti-corporate consolidation, anti-wealth consolidation. You're going to be anti-rich to a certain degree, right? And therefore, obviously, if that's the position, then wealthy people would much rather give money to right-wingers, no matter how far right they may be, than any left-winger. So you can't really develop an audience as someone who is a leftist without a significant amount of grassroots support, real support. That's also the reason why you see a lot of, so the number one reason, like I said, is because like the right is way more forgiving, or rather they're way more open-minded towards people who are in any way, shape, or form interested in saying the right things. Just like simply coming out and saying you're a right-winger automatically wins you a lot of favor in the right. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people pivot to the right when they're like outed or something like that, you know? Whereas people on the left are constantly punished by their own audience all the time. And then the other reason is because there's a lot more money on the right. There's a lot more money on the right. Right-wing ideology also leans into pre-existing hierarchies, social constructs that we take for granted, whereas people on the left, on the progressive side, are constantly trying to dismantle pre-existing hierarchies, and that is also seen as a major issue from people who rely on those pre-existing hierarchies, or people who take that as the standard, as the norm, and don't want change. So there's a lot of resistance to change in general. So there are a million different reasons why, if you're going to grift, I think grifting to the right is a much more appropriate measure. Grifting is just posturing for money under those scruples. Why complicate yourself with the hardest version of that? Exactly. If you were a grifter, that means you're devoid of any sort of like serious moral compass. If you're devoid of any sort of like ideological grounding, if you're devoid of any sort of interest in a different vision for the future, and if you just have no real opinions, then why the fuck would you grift on extra hardcore difficulty? The only thing on the left is organic human interest. All the uber rich guy interests on the right wing side, which includes neoliberals who are pro-capitalism. Yes. And people who say there's market saturation on the right, and therefore it might be easier to grift to the left, are wrong, because grifting to the left, or just like communicating leftist positions and making them more palatable, is infinitely more difficult than just saying common sense. Okay? Think about Asmongold, for example. Regardless of what his real world view is, like, think about how he cuts content and how much easier it is to just simply say, yeah, this guy's based. Everything that this guy is doing is good when talking about Donald Trump. There aren't even that many figures that I could point to personally and say, this guy's doing it the appropriate way, the best way. Maybe Zoran, right? And even then I have criticisms of Zoran too. And not only that, but also it's much easier to just look at all of the things that are happening around and just saying, no, it's really good actually. And all of the people that are naysayers about police brutality, or all the people that want more representation, all of those people are just bad people. They just want to destroy Western civilization. It's just much easier to present an argument from a right-wing position, because you can always lean on the status quo. You can always lean on the status quo and maybe even demand more of the status quo. And a lot of people who don't necessarily think too hard, a lot of people who don't think too much about the way things are, or how these systems work and who they hurt, especially if they have a position of privilege in some ways, are never going to want to entertain the notion that there is a better way out there. There is a better future out there. They're just simply going to go, well, things might be bad, but the alternative is far scarier, because everyone is terrified of change. Anyway, let's continue.
Radical atheist leftists, and just about any group that isn't purely white and American born. You know, sort of like Nick's own father.
I'm not English or German. I'm
Fuentes. What's Fuentes?
Mexican.
And who's your dad's Mexican?
My father's half Mexican, yes.
While the Groypers and Nick fall on the right of the political compass, they often break from Trump and the Republican Party on some things.
When did you meet Eric in China? Unfortunately, I had zero time. If you remember, I was sleeping the only times where I wasn't on camera.
Especially when it comes to Israel.
We need to confront Israel like we confront Putin, like we confront Xi Jinping, like we confront North Korea.
Since October 7th, over the past 2 years, I believe Nick's rise in popularity can be directly attributed to the growing disdain for the United States' bipartisan funding and support of Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Across the board, Americans' favorability of Israel has reached the lowest in recent history. And while the vast
Yeah, right-wing ecosystems are better organized for monetization. Like they can take $1 million betting ad and get Fuentes or the Israeli prime minister on without getting canceled. Meanwhile, that's not even true. Like there are definitely people who have gotten fucking canceled, or at least like took a serious hit for having Benjamin Netanyahu on. Like the Nelk boys definitely ate it. Meanwhile, this chat has a full meltdown when you talk about Plattner. Yeah. Even if I'm not like a dick riding Graham Plattner, people still get in their fucking feelings and cut an endless amount of content saying that like it's I'm a fake phony and a sheepdog for the Democratic Party.
The majority of right-wing commentators stuck to their scripts and defended the U.S.'s involvement and support of the Israel and Hamas war, as they usually refer to it as. Nick decided to take a different approach and actually call out the atrocities Israel was inflicting against the Palestinian people, breaking from the mainstream conservative talking points. Because of this, Nick was able to carve out a unique subgroup of the right wing, those who were, for the most part, culturally conservative, but didn't buy into the American Uniparty consensus of Israel has the right to defend itself. After all, Nick's motto and show is called America First, and the way the federal government was treating Israel was definitely not putting America first. Now at this point you might be thinking, well, this is good, these Groypers are right? Shouldn't we be standing in solidarity with them in support of Palestinian liberation and the defunding of the IDF and Israel as a whole? Well, yes, but not for the reasons they believe. But you might not know that if you just caught a few of Nick's viral clips online.
I don't think people understand exactly what's happening here. The Gaza Strip is all rubble. It's a population of 2.1 million people. There are reasonable estimates that say that 200,000 people have died. That's 10% of the population. 10% of the population has been killed. And 50,000 of those are women and children. So this is hell on earth.
Because Nick and the Groypers don't care about Palestinian liberation. They're against Israel because they're anti-Semitic. Nathan J. Robinson over at Current Affairs put together these quotes and videos that I'm about to show for this next section, so be sure to check out his article in the description below. Okay, let's get this straight. Nick is a neo-Nazi, and I don't mean to use that term lightly either. He has called Hitler cool and awesome.
Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also real fucking cool. Where he's rolling down the street and stuff. It's like, this guy's awesome. This guy's cool.
He's given a Sig Heil here.
Audrey, go, go, go. You gonna do it?
And there is also a very viral clip of Nick giving this rant after seeing a black man littering in his neighborhood.
I want this guy dead. And I wish Hitler would kill him. I wish Hitler would have killed him. If I was in a room with Hitler and that guy, me and Hitler would team up and fuck that guy up. We would kill that guy. Hitler would hold him down, and I would beat him to death. And we'd high-five at the end.
If that wasn't enough, he also said things like, I don't believe in the Holocaust, and once said this on a live stream.
It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right?
I mean, this is like scratching the surface. Like there are rants of him talking about miscegenation, like race mixing, as though it's like the same as having sex with an animal, you know? It's fucking insane.
Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long would it take you to make $6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens.
Nick has even talked to his supporters about how you gotta be careful who you talk to about your beliefs of the Holocaust not being real and Jews secretly running the world.
We all have these beliefs, but you know the consequences for believing them and for talking about them. I actually don't encourage you to go out there and tell everybody in mixed company, you know, don't come home to your parents and say, hey, Mom, Dad, guess who runs America? Let's not do that, okay? I came home from college. I told my parents, I said, Mom, Dad, you will never guess what never happened. Like I just found out about it. You won't believe it. It never happened. And they were like, who raised you? I'm like, Mom, relax, okay? What are you, Jewish or something? Just calm down. It's not that big.
Doesn't that make
Isn't
you
it
part of
weird?
the problem? Not a grouper here, but I think some of these clips are like sarcastic remarks taken seriously, like your landlord rant. Brother, I don't know if you're not a groiper or not. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you are, you know, it kind of feels like you're just masking your point of view here. Okay, you just watched him go on a tangent about on two different occasions about denying the Holocaust and saying that the numbers don't add up. Like, that's not, I don't know if that's like sarcastic. I don't know how that could be sarcastic. I genuinely don't know, you know? I'm not saying all of them are sarcastic. Okay, which one do you think is sarcastic? Because it's pretty obvious when he's talking about like miscegenation being the equivalent of like a white person having sex with an animal. Like a white woman having sex with a black man is, from Nick Fuentes' perspective, the equivalence of like a white woman having sex with an animal. Do you think that that is sarcastic? Like, or is it a joke? What do you think is going on there? I mean, I think that's just his position. I don't know why we're, I mean, he's openly said that he is a white supremacist Nazi. I don't know why, like a Christian white nationalist neo-Nazi, right? Like, it's not, I don't think this is held up as a point of contention. He's as, maybe not as open about it, but pretty open about his worldview. Do you mean like this one? This?
He was also real fucking cool.
You're talking about like Adolf Hitler? Because there's numerous occasions. If you think he's being sarcastic in this situation about Adolf Hitler or supporting Adolf Hitler, yeah, so let me ask you one thing. And this is I'm being as sincere as possible here. Why do you think this needs defense? Do you feel like there aren't other instances of Nick Fuentes like openly defending Adolf Hitler? Like, if you, let's say this is actually a sarcastic remark about Adolf Hitler. I don't know exactly what would be sarcastic here, but don't you know that there are plenty of other instances? Like, he's been asked straight up, for example, whether he likes Adolf Hitler or not, and he has said that he does. Like, he's been asked over and over again, as a matter of fact. I know a bit of his history. I just want to claim that Ben Minute could have picked better clips to prove he's anti-Semitic. That's not what you said, though. That's not what you said. I think these clips are perfectly fine. I think it works on a shitload of people. His goal is to sound sarcastic and jokey, but also like he's sincere, but just tricking the normies with the sarcasm vibes. He's not alone in feeling this way about Nick. And it's an intentional strategy that Nick is utilizing to obfuscate to people what he truly believes. His communication strategy is why he's so successful. Yeah, it's also ironic because this communication strategy that he is deploying is literally what liberals think I'm doing. The context nuke in and of itself was literally that, presenting me as a Nick Fuentes style figure, but on the left, right? And it did work on a lot of people because it presented a shit ton of clips out of context where me saying like liberals are so easy to dupe by Republicans, and they get duped by Republicans all the time. Liberals get duped by right-wingers all the time. I hate that. Was shortened to liberals are so easy to dupe. I'm actually lying to liberals about my position when I'm not. I'm pretty open about my position. He obviously can't be as open about his position, even though he does get fairly fucking open about his position with regular frequency, right? Like, he is pretty open about his worldview on the inferiority of other ethnicities and other minority groups. He's pretty open about his support for Adolf Hitler. He is as open as you can get about being a neo-Nazi, an anti-Semitic neo-Nazi. So if you are personally at this stage still going, well, you know, these clips that he's choosing are not great, or he's just being sarcastic, but you are fully aware of his the other times in which he's defended Adolf Hitler, for example, whether it be his policies or engaged in Holocaust denial or Holocaust revisionism, then don't you feel like you're just kind of serving his purpose here, obfuscating whether or not he is literally a fucking neo-Nazi or not, and then simultaneously, when receiving some pushback, turning around and going, well, I'm just saying he could have picked better clips. I'm fully aware that you and others say that he does this, but I just haven't heard it myself, to be honest. What? we're currently watching a video where he openly admits in the beginning of this video why he has to mask his true opinions, right? And the reason why he has to do that is because by and large, there are still a lot of people, even racist people, who look to someone who is a self-avowed neo-Nazi and go, yuck, that's bad. Okay? There are also plenty of people who think socialism is bad. Some people who are delusional enough to assume that even socialists are almost as bad as Nazis, if not worse than Nazis in some instances, right? Like there are a lot of dumb people out there, but by and large, most people, dumb, racist, smart, not racist, it doesn't matter. They're all anti-Nazi. Okay? It exists outside of the confines of permissible bigotry. Someone can have opinions that are damn near identical to Nick Fuentes, but the moment that they find out that someone is branded as a neo-Nazi, they go, ew, gross, not for me. Because Nazism is like the maximalist position of reactionary politics. In any case, he is not a fan of any non-white group, despite the fact that he himself is a Mexican and he goes back and forth on his Mexican background. But the thing is, he also, unlike the rest of the Republican Party, he is both anti-Israel and also anti-Semitic. That, I would say, is the biggest difference between Nick Fuentes and the average right-winger. The Surfs actually put a pretty decent compilation here together. Ben Shapiro hosts Matt Walsh, who spreads the exact same kind of sexism and racism as Nick Fuentes. They're both homophobic and support U.S. imperialism abroad. It's white supremacy, but the only difference is Matt doesn't also attack Israel. The only difference between Matt Walsh and Nick Fuentes is that Matt Walsh does not attack Israel because Matt Walsh works under Ben Shapiro. And it's also the same exact reason why Ben Shapiro hired Candace Owens, for example, when Candace Owens was saying a bunch of fucking anti-Semitic shit, but she was pro-Israel at the time. When Candace Owens started saying anti-Semitic shit and was anti-Israel, then Ben Shapiro fired Candace Owens, right? They gave Randy Fine the U treatment. What do you mean?
Nearly every single thing he accuses Fuentes of being misogynistic and violent towards women, racist towards black and indigenous people, praising white supremacy, are things that his own host, like Matt Walsh, has said many times before.
All of the cases that I mentioned, they're all immoral, bad, gross, harmful. But they're not all rape. Some of them were, not all of them. And until we acknowledge that there are other ways to have immoral sexual relations with a person, until we reclaim sexual morality and sexual boundaries, we will be stuck trying to condemn all bad sex on the grounds of consent. Fact number one.
For the record, this is also part of the reason why a lot of these people don't see Nick Fuentes as that big of a threat. If you're a fan of Matt Walsh, unless you are super pro-Israel and you are singularly invested in Israel, why the fuck would you hate Nick Fuentes? You love Nick Fuentes. There are so many normie right-wingers who love Matt Walsh, right? And they, of course, naturally also gravitate towards Nick Fuentes as well. If anything, on the normie right spectrum, the reason why they don't really fuck with Nick Fuentes is because he's too extremely online. But of course, on the extremely online side of the normies who don't really dig deep into politics, they love Nick Fuentes because he's extremely online. So for the average Republican normie who is a voter who doesn't spend a whole deal of time online, they don't really know too much about Nick Fuentes, but if they encounter some of his clips, they're probably going to like him. They're going to be like, yeah, this guy is actually somewhat charismatic. He's saying the same exact things that I've, seen from the likes of Matt Walsh and many others, or Fox News, whether it be the great replacement theories or whether it be the fact that, liberal moral degeneracy is ruining Western civilization. These sorts of ideas are pretty close to what Nick Fuentes is advocating for. The only difference is he ties it back to Jews, right? The international Jewry, the organized Jewry, as he calls it, is the reason for why this kind of like liberalism and wokeness has run amok in America and is ruining America. The average right winger, on the other hand, doesn't say that it's actually the Jews, or at least doesn't publicly say that they believe it's the Jews. They'll just say it's the liberals, it's the globalists, it's the international consortium of elites, liberal elites, bicoastal liberal elites that have ruined your life. And the Democratic Party is representative of these values and these people, right? That's the difference. So if you are already predisposed to believe this kind of thing, then you're just, Nick Fuentes just takes it one marginal step in the direction of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. That's pretty much it, right?
One, it's not a new phenomenon. Fact number two, in fact, it's a phenomenon that was more common earlier in history, and for the first 6,000 to 10,000 years of human existence, it was a normal thing. Fact three, girls between the ages of like 17.
I hear people I trust like you saying this about him, but I haven't really heard any examples of him saying it himself. I'm fully aware that you and others say that he does this, but I haven't heard it myself, to be honest. Those could have been takes as bad jokes, I feel. It's not that compelling. What? Are you talking about Nick Fuentes? You haven't heard Nick Fuentes? You just heard him literally talk about how the Holocaust numbers cannot be 6 million Jews because it's just like mathematically impossible. He wasn't making a joke. He was just like trying to, he is open. I don't know. Yes, Operation Reinhardt. What? I feel like I can't tell if this is like a genuine, this is surprising. I don't know. Like, you've been around since 2022 and this is a person who's like getting duped, I think. The entire point is this video literally is supposed to teach you how those clips can trick you. I don't know how the fuck you went from like, administrative colonialism versus settler colonialism, and you have an understanding of like compradors and collaborations and things of that nature to, Operation Reinhardt doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, look, chatter, the Nazis were pretty fucking meticulous about their record taking, okay? If you are a cynic about the metric ton of death and destruction, the systematized version of violence that happened during the Holocaust, I don't know what to fucking tell you, but it is a pretty well established atrocity. And it's a little shocking to me that you would go from understanding the differences between administrative colonialism and settler colonialism to, I don't know, maybe the Nazis didn't actually kill that many people. Okay.
Now you have in the universities, in the media, in Hollywood, in finance, in government, and some people say, well, they're not all Jewish. It's like, okay, well, it's half, or 2/3, or 3/4. And what's the other quarter? What's the other third? What's the other half? It's not Catholics. It's not hardcore God-believing Christians. It's all kinds of other atheists, nihilists, postmodernists, whatever you want to call it. And so I don't want to say, hey, let's all attack one group, but there's a big problem when the leadership isn't Christian. We have big problems as a society when the people aren't Christian. What happens when the king and queen aren't Christian? What happens when the aristocracy isn't Christian? What happens when the cities and the business owners aren't Christian? Well, take a look around you. It's exactly what we have now. And so many of the problems that we can point to, which are blamed on various things, ideology, government, on other groups or populations, can be attributable to the loss of faith and the loss of any kind of adherence to an objective morality.
Elon Musk cooked us so fucking hard. It's crazy how hard Elon Musk cooked us. Surely there's more context. I mean, the difference is people will hear this and see the first part and go, you know what? There are a lot of Jews in positions of power in the banking industry or in Hollywood. And it's overemphasized by a lot of people like this. The difference, however, is that those are American Jews, just like American Christians, people coming from, different parts of the fucking world that have become American in the process over generations of living here. They are not a monolithic, organized unit. Okay? That's it. That's the difference. There is no organized Jewry. the closest expression to an organized Jewry would be Zionism. And even then, obviously, Zionism is fucking falling apart in terms of its propaganda for American Jews, especially with the next generation of young American Jews. That's precisely the reason why ADL spent most of its time fucking coming after people like myself and not Nick Fuentes in the aftermath of October 7, because ADL knows that Nick Fuentes is probably not going to, brain poison young American Jews into an anti-Zionist position, right? Because they will know instantly that he is a neo-Nazi. So they spent every waking moment trying to say that I also am, just like Nick Fuentes, a anti-Semite, not realizing that that actually undermines the argument of anti-Semitism when you're going after someone who has spent a good deal of time combating anti-Semitism. You are drifting further and further right. You miss things because of privilege. I used to defend you. Now I warn people about you because you shit on us minorities, and this is what money and power does. You choose not to listen to the people at the bottom. Also, this is a perfect example as to why people do not, quote unquote, grift to the left. Okay? This is it. This is the reason. My position on whatever this person is talking about have not changed at all. Okay? I'm so glad you're warning minorities about me, so that they don't accidentally arrive at whatever conclusions that I am. He's a capitalist and profits off the genocide in Palestine. You have sunk so low. Immigrants are needed for the economy. Jihad means struggle. You are upholding a racist trope. Now you are, yes. Oh, this is the chatter who misunderstood me the other day when I actually quite literally explained that jihad does mean struggle, but I'm talking about like their own version, their own understanding of jihad. And then he turned around and said, I point out when you're wrong, and if you get a gifted sub, I will. That was not me. I would never just insult. Everyone has personal jihad. A group can have a completely peaceful jihad. That was the person who didn't understand that I was literally saying that who do you think is closer to the false framing of jihad and Sharia that you see from Westerners? This isn't the actual concept of jihad nor Sharia. Having said that, who do you think is closer? Do you think it's the right wingers that are closer to like a Taliban style form of governance? Or do you think it's actually liberals and progressives that are closer? And this chatter said, oh, you are adopting the right wing framing on jihad. And then I corrected them and I said, no, I'm not adopting that. I actually accounted for it in my commentary. And I did say that this is not even the correct framing or the correct understanding of jihad. It's, as a matter of fact, the false framing of jihad and the false framing of Sharia. And even within that false framing structure, right-wingers are infinitely closer to this form of what they declare is jihad and what they declare is Sharia. You doubled down on your position. Your own personal feelings or your own personal embarrassment in this moment, if you think that your misunderstandings are reason alone for you to go, Hassan, you have changed. I am protecting minorities and warning them to not watch you, then, it's fine. It is what it is. Keep up the good fight, chatter. I don't think any right wing would ever listen. I still listen to you because I think you can do better. You clearly have a hard time. You might be listening, but you're not actually listening. You're not actively listening. You're maybe hearing, but you're not listening to my words. Okay? Sometimes it's all right if you misunderstood what I was saying. But this is the problem with people on the left. Even if it's their own personal misunderstanding of a thing that I actually accounted for, they will literally go, my own personal misunderstanding is still your fault. And not only is it your fault, but you've actually betrayed the revolutionary cause. You're actually an enemy of mine now. This kind of thing doesn't exist on the right. This is why organizing on the right is much easier. Okay? I have never heard from any right-winger, and maybe there are some, and especially nowadays there is a little bit of infighting happening on the issues of Israel on the right, but I've never heard from a right-winger be like, I misunderstood something you were saying. You have betrayed MAGA. You are now my enemy. You're a woke communist. Okay? There is no like, I'm going to hold you accountable mentality on the right. they just straight up go, okay, maybe I misunderstood. I think this guy's been pretty fucking loyal to the cause. Actually, they do kind of do that now. That is pretty funny. No, I don't think that you are my enemy. Okay. I used to defend you and now I warn people about you because you shit on us minorities. And this is what money and power does. If you think that money and power has actually corrupted my worldview so much that you think I've drifted to the right and you are warning people about me, then that's a really strange thing to do to an ally. This is what you do to someone who is an enemy. Not only have you said a whole bunch of nonsense here, okay? When did you switch on minorities? I missed the stream. Yeah, it's the other stream that you might have missed out on. I think you need to stop doing shit. I think stupid shit. I think you are blind to things. What you say means things. Explain what you are talking about, please. Can we be done with this? Just say what you fucking mean, okay? Say what you fucking mean. Because I'm almost certain that this is because you do better. No, that's not. Every now and then I entertain stuff like this because I need people to see that this is not real criticism. You're just engaging in the cheapest form of vague generalizations from an incredibly smarmy perspective. Like, just do better. On what? Give me an example of what the difference you have, the difference in opinion that you have with something that I've done. It's not real to you, sexism? Wait, what? On what issue? Look, stop. Give me an example, please. We're moving closer and closer to at least like something specific, but give me an example, please. Clearly, it was such a big deal that you actually chose to make this a major issue. Just give me an example of what you mean, okay? It's far too abstract and far too vague for any of us to understand what you're talking about. You have to tell me what it is. Do you guys understand why I consider stuff like this to be wrecker behavior? You were being sexist as fuck towards two right-wing women. Wait, what? Okay, go on. What are you talking about? Who and what? I think we're gonna figure it out eventually. Who are you talking about? And what did I do? Also, that's not even what you mentioned earlier. You said that I was a capitalist who profits off the genocide in Palestine. My point is, if you have a million different points of contention like this, and you can't even actually give me like a clear-cut example of like the break-off point. I can't do this shit because it's scary. People are jumping me. How do I explain as an example in the past when you made a mistake? Look, if you have a serious point of contention, if you have a serious issue with something that I've done, you should probably be, you are a liar and propagandist. Got it. Okay. This is what I mean. That's literally an Ethan talking point. So I have a feeling that this is where this person is coming from. Unfortunately, I know. So much of the overall generalized negative feelings come from astroturfed talking points that are literally pumped all over the internet. Okay. And then other left adjacent and self-described leftist content creators also lean into it as well. And then ultimately, it all amounts to either a misunderstanding or just someone who has been duped. Okay. In so many of these instances, and it's so difficult for people to go, you know what? Maybe it was my mistake. Maybe I've been duped into taking this position. This is part of the reason why I just move on usually. Okay. I just fucking move on. And you should too, chatters. It is what it is. But ultimately, my point is, if you have like such a serious gripe that you are quote unquote warning people about me, like warning others not to watch, don't watch this guy, he's an enemy, he's an op, you probably should have like a well-defined gripe, okay? Like, I have very well-defined issues with someone like Nick Fuentes. His entire worldview is damn near the opposite of mine, okay? On virtually every single point. with like maybe the exception being what he says about Israel, even though I spend a good deal of time explaining to people why his opinions on Israel are still ultimately different than mine, because it comes from an anti-Semitic position, right? It's never just like, I don't like Nick Fuentes' vibes. Or even with someone like Asmongold, even with someone like Ethan Klein, I spend a good deal of time explaining to you exactly what my disagreements are with the type of content that these guys are consuming and the type of content that these guys are putting out there. But for some strange reason, every single one of my naysayers will just lean into clips out of context that are that show me in the exact opposite worldview that I currently maintain, that I've been advocating for a decade plus. Okay, this is a problem, and then their fans or people that actually encounter their content in the wild or see some of these clips turn around and go, you know what? Those clips were valid. Those clips were actually valid. I won't describe to you what my anger and resentment stems from. I won't describe to you what my anger stems from, but I will tell you that you're bad and you're wrong. Okay? That's it. A lot of this has gotten a lot worse because of the Elon Musk Twitter takeover. It's become serialized. It's very profitable. But yes, it has become insufferable for the most part. There's a massive epistemological issue currently. Access to information is trending downwards towards illiteracy. Yes. I think you conflate annoying leftists with lolcow farmers too often. No, I think some of the annoying leftists actually get farmed by the lolcow farmers. That's it. All right, let's continue.
And so, that's a long way of saying I love Hitler.
I wonder what he means by that.
Christ is king! Christ is king! Christ is king! Christ is king!
In both American parties' bases. While some voices on the left became vocal about the atrocities being committed by Israel, Nick realized that no one on the right was doing the same. There was a gap in the market. It was the perfect opportunity for Nick. And now he didn't even have to hide his anti-Semitic views anymore. With many American and Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself, constantly conflating Zionism with Judaism, Nick could openly spout Jewish conspiracy theories while being viewed as the one right-winger who actually spoke out against the genocide in Gaza. And this is the Nick Fuentes strategy. He finds the unpopular policies of the Republican Party, pinpoints those weak points, and then capitalizes on being the first and the loudest to disagree while offering—
Look. This is why I'm saying it. Look. One, responding, this is not worth your time. And two, you need to pay attention to folks that are critical to you. When people provide criticism or reflect on it, I can't provide exact examples, but there are times when you get criticism specifically around issues important to black folks and other minorities. There have been instances of constructive and valid criticism around those issues, and I've actually taken the time to approach it in a way where I internalize the criticism. You probably haven't seen it, and you're probably operating either off of, one, old information, or two, instances where people still continue farming it. And that's my problem. And you, once again, are doing the same thing. You are doing the same thing that the other chatter was doing, which is gumming up the works consistently with vague generalizations. Like if your argument devolves into, for example, if your argument devolves into like, oh, you said black people with stank on it, right? About the Sudan issue when someone was basically using the genocide conducted by the RSF in Sudan as a counter to stop me from talking about black voters in the New York mayoral race, telling a chatter that they're not actually going to universally vote for Eric Adams just because he's black. I addressed it. When you speak of some minorities' issues, you are sometimes really dismissive. Yes, I'm really dismissive of derailers in general. But at the end of the day, you have to understand, if that's, for example, what you're talking about right now, I've already taken the criticism. I've already said I've already said my apologies. And if you're still hammering that point, at this point, I don't think you're interested in having a productive conversation. Do you see my problem? Like, this is impossible. This is an impossible conundrum. Okay. And it also makes it very difficult to parse through who is a fucking derailer and who is actually offering constructive criticism. This is the issue. Okay. Okay. I'll sure to point it out next time and we see if you take it seriously. Dude, do you not realize that this is a problem here? Like, you've been in this community for a long enough time and you literally have this attitude, this incredibly cynical attitude. I will never be able to convince you. Okay? I will never be able to convince you. I don't know why you just don't go and get this information elsewhere then. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Do you see what I mean? This is impossible. Every fucking stream it turns into a struggle session over and over again. Okay? I watch it because you're still a good source of news and we live in a white patriarchal world, so everything we get is through that lens. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to do my very best to move on from this now. But you guys have to understand, you're anonymous, okay? To me, you are anonymous. I know some of the backgrounds of some of the people that are consistently speaking in the chat, but I don't know how much of my background you're familiar with. I don't know how much of my commentary you're familiar with. I can only set expectations off of what you have revealed about yourself, whether that be your username or how many months you've been a subscriber. And I'm trying to do my very best. And if you are this adversarial in this very moment on issues that I've also, spoken about, then it's impossible. It's impossible for me to read your fucking mind. It's impossible for me to know what your background is. It's impossible for me to understand where you're coming from, because while it might seem like I'm speaking to you directly, and in this instance I am, in your living room, I'm speaking to tens of thousands of people, right? That's it. You have to remember that there is a significant chunk that is missing from this interpersonal communication that we have. Anyway, the irony, of course, is that what I was talking about here is that Nick Fuentes doesn't have to deal with this shit. Okay? He doesn't. He just simply does not have to deal with any of this stuff from his own audience. And ultimately, he doesn't have to deal with the endless amounts of people that take advantage of this back and forth dynamic that exists in this community, in this chat, to cut endless amounts of content off of it. Hassan is both simultaneously captive to his audience, but he's also incredibly mean to his audience. Hassan is bad. Hassan is rich, but also a socialist. That doesn't make any sense. He's a hypocrite. He's a grifter, over and over and over again, from a lot of people who are liberals themselves, even, and have apolitical audiences. And that's precisely the reason why he gets to basically operate in the sidelines and build his audience and build his community and continue clip farming in whichever way he wants to direct it. When you look at the clips that are me on the internet, it's more often than not clips with a negative framing. Clips with a negative framing, clips out of context, and clips with a negative framing that people with a genuine opportunity or a genuine interest in like undermining whatever the fuck I'm saying or smearing me have been pumping all over the internet, whether it be Reddit, whether it be Twitter, and certainly even on TikTok. With Nick, it's the exact opposite. His own clip army is constantly cutting things, oftentimes also out of context, in an effort to present him as like some progressive champion, even if they're reaching out to, even if they're actively trying to, reach out to an audience of more progressive-minded people, liberal people. Yeah, your haters have more videos on you than Nick Fuentes. That's the problem. Exactly. And my haters are, some of my haters literally say I'm a bigger issue for American politics than Nick Fuentes. I'm a bigger danger than Nick Fuentes. And these people run around and claim that they're liberal. So if you are a liberal, if you're a liberal and you watch these people who are self-described liberals say this kind of shit, and then it's paired up with like somewhat positively framed Nick Fuentes clips that you see on your TikTok, you end up leaning in that direction. And slowly but surely, you develop an affinity towards Nick Fuentes. And then, slowly but surely, you start agreeing with some of the other things that he's saying. This is just how it goes.
Offering an America First solution in its place. His solution isn't Republican or Democrat or Libertarian. It's America First. He's even said this himself.
That's why I started my show, which was called America First, which was this nationalistic show as opposed to libertarian or conservative.
And this strategy has gone far beyond Israel and has worked wonders for Nick and the Groypers as a whole.
G sent $20. Hey Nick, just wanted to thank you for your impassioned and unapologetic defense of La La Land. I got called gay for giving it a 10 out of 10, so it was a major relief to be vindicated by the leader of the white race. Favorite song/scene?
I don't know we want to go that far, but it is objectively one of the greatest movies of all time.
So far in this video, I've been talking a lot about Nick. But what about the Groypers themselves? What are their views? Do they blindly follow everything that Nick says, or is there some resistance there? If I was going to infiltrate this community and attempt to make woke left-wing content that was appealing to them, I would need to understand how the Groypers interact with Nick. What does that relationship look like? And to do that, I would need to hop into some of the spaces where Groypers are found. While Nick might be mostly discovered through short-form videos on the woke mainstream apps like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all of Nick's videos and live streams originate on the free speech haven website known as Rumble. Think of Rumble as sort of a YouTube, but all of the content is for conservatives. So I want to spend the next few minutes going through one of Nick's long-form videos and try to get a better sense of how he navigates complex topics. I've only really known Nick through short-form videos and Twitter, so maybe there might be some nuance that I'm missing. But before watching, I decided to recruit someone from the radical left to help me break down this video and dive a bit deeper into the Fuentes psyche. Some of you may already know him, but if not, let me introduce you to Eric Havigam.
Low-lying grass, rolling hills. Oh, Israeli missile launcher. We gotta be over here in Israel. What? Why is there an Israeli missile launcher in the middle of Azerbaijan? Between 2016 and 2020, Israel supplied Azerbaijan with nearly 70% of its weapons arsenal.
On his YouTube channel, Eric has broken down topics ranging from Zoran Mamdani's campaign, to Israel's influence over the United States, and to secretly spreading Armenian propaganda on Hassan Piker's live stream. Well, Eric, thanks for coming on. I know I kind of gave you a little bit of background on what we're going to be doing today, but yeah, would love to hear your initial thoughts before watching this. Like, if there's anything you're hoping to get out of it, if there's any expectations you might have.
I'm just excited to become a Groyper. I don't know. I mean, I know they're revered in society. They're really up and coming, and really, I'm just excited to hopefully be a bigger part of their community.
Yeah, I totally agree. It seems very inclusive so far, so I'm looking forward to diving in.
I want to talk about the ICE deportations, the DHS deployments, and I have a little bit of a hot take on this one, okay? I'm sure you've seen the news, and I talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago. I like it. I'm out here in Chicago in the streets.
I like it.
And every day we're seeing footage of Border Patrol and ICE agents marching through downtown Chicago. It's awesome. I love it. Our country is being held hostage by a metric shit ton of the lowest common denominator of people that really belong in prison.
If his whole thing is like, these people are inferior, whether it's by race or by belief system, yet they are holding you hostage, is that not just the ultimate skill issue? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, also, what's the hostage part? You can literally do whatever you want right now, Nick. You can say whatever you want. You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want.
What's his thing? What's his, like, your body, my choice?
Your body, my choice.
There's no consequences for this guy.
No consequences, but oh my God, they've got me. We can't do anything now.
That hide their faces and use violence and intimidation and terror tactics to prevent law enforcement from doing its job. Like, we need to get in, really crack down on this stuff so that we can live in our cities. We need to take back control of the cities.
Like, what does that even mean? You know? Like, what is that? Are you saying that you want to control the cities in like a white supremacist direction? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, this dude lives in Chicago and he's excited at the prospect of the Department of Homeland Security deployments happening. ICE deployments happening in the city of Chicago, which is incredibly chaotic. Damn, this dude is old as fuck. I've been watching your ass longer than The Simpsons. 55 months. Hell yeah. You're trending on Twitter X if you're wondering where the weird comments are lately coming from. I mean, there's never a moment where I'm not trending on Twitter and X chatter. That's just like, I'm always trending on Twitter and X. That's why there's a sea of weird comments all the fucking time.
You live in Chicago and you've never moved. So, like, if you don't like it, then just move somewhere else.
Go back to where you came from.
Get the hell out of here.
Very interesting because he's talked extensively about how he doesn't like the Democrats, but he also doesn't like the Republicans. And it seems like he is not ideologically consistent. Nothing he says fits within one firm moral framework. And I think that's part of his appeal. I don't think it's like an intentional thing by him, but I think it's a big reason why so many young folks like him, because you never know what you're going to get next. In many ways, it's like gambling.
Yeah. In a way, he just seems like he's the perfect content machine. He's like Mr. Beast. He knows how to get views. That's all that it is.
And
he doesn't actually
he
believe
has
in
similar
anything.
opinions on race as Mr. Beast does.
They kind of look alike too, now that I think about it.
Oh my God, wait. Low key, you're kind of right. Do you think Nick Beast, do you think Nick Fuentes and Mr. Beast are actually related?
Wait, your name is actually Nick Beast? What do you think the J stands for? Do you think it stands for Jimmy? Jimmy Beast?
Nick Jimmy Beast.
They're just content farmers.
Two equally evil content farmers.
Watch him start like a philanthropist Rumble channel next. Or I can see him doing it, like taking away 5,000 wells from Africa.
Last African civilian to leave the red circle loses their well. Or they get the well. If they're the last one in the red circle, they get new wells.
And I seriously doubt that Trump is going to be the guy that finishes the job. I think he's too old, too tired. He just doesn't have the imagination. He is not an operator on the level of a Vladimir Putin, of a Xi Jinping, of a Franklin Roosevelt, of an Abraham Lincoln.
Is it lived up? FDR lover? What?
Blue no matter who. Blue no matter who. That's insane.
Dude, he must be a fan of the New Deal.
New Deal Nick, that's what they call him.
That's what a weird lineup. We have Putin, Xi Jinping, FDR, and who was the last one?
Abe Lincoln. A weird blunt rotation, if I'm being honest, but would be interesting. There would definitely be some stories shared. That's for sure.
It wouldn't be nightmare rotation. It would be
no,
but it would be stressful.
The vibes would be off, I think. I don't know if I would like the vibes, but I would like to be there. I think I'd like to be sober though.
Yeah, the way that Trump is going about this, you're like daring the Democrats to destroy us before we can destroy them. I don't like that.
Man, a lot to take away.
So much.
And kind of not that much at the same time.
Yeah.
If you want to check out our full hour-and-a-half long reaction to this Rumble video, you can find that on my Patreon. It turned out to be a very entertaining time, so if you want to go watch it, you can go to my Patreon link down below to become a member. As always, I appreciate the support. So Eric, I think we kind of know enough about Nick and the Groyper community. I think I get it. I think I understand Nick, but there's still something that I actually have to do. And Eric, I have a really big ask of you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Will you become Nick Fuentes with me?
I thought you would never ask. Let's groip this thing.
Let's groip it up.
That was just that part was just like unfiltered reaction to a Nick Fuentes Rumble VOD, specifically so that he could promote the full reaction that he did with Eric on his Patreon. But the video is more structured than that, right? And they're back into it now. This is the thing that Bennett does, where he will like take those Zoran posters off, Eric.
Unfortunately, I don't have any like incels to put on the wall, but I do have this printout of Joseph Stalin, and I figured that if the Groypers just Google Joseph Stalin and go to one of their weird right-wing outlets and see that he killed like 10 trillion people or whatever it'll say, they might be like, wow, he was super Giga Chad and based. So who knows, maybe that's like step one to radicalizing them. All right, I'm happy with the set, but now I have to get into costume. So I'll do a really cool transition in 3, 2, 1. Huh? Pretty... I got a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Need a tie. Also,
all right, now I
women.
need some kind of profile picture.
Okay, first things first, we need to set up some profiles.
So we're gonna make a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Twitter, and maybe some Rumbles.
Rick.Patriot. But I want to make it Mexican. So, Patriota.
Sign up. We're going to do Cooper Liberto. All right, here we are. r/Nick Fuentes. Uh-oh. A Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson interview is coming soon? Per Alex Jones. This feels like a Marvel crossover movie.
Whites, blacks against the Jews.
What?
Is Nick glazing on the Catholic Church a bit too sus? He's a Novus Ordo. He is Novus Ordo. I'm pretty sure this is the same company that makes Ozempic. Okay, so we took 10 viral clips of Nick's from Instagram. We transcribed them and then replaced the racist, sexist, right-wing words and phrases with woke, left-leaning ones, thus taking the Groyper rhetoric and vibe and rebranding it to be, well, the opposite of the original Fuentes message. In doing this, we were hoping that the algorithms would get confused by our content and still push it to the Groyper community. We'd be feeding the Groypers left-wing content and they wouldn't even know it. That is, if we were able to pull off the Fuentes disguise. If we looked like Nick Fuentes, and if we talked like Nick Fuentes, could we trick the Groypers into listening to what we had to say? Well, you tell me.
She sent $20. Hey Coop, just wanted to thank you for your impassioned and unapologetic defense of La La Land. I got called gay for giving it a 10 out of 10, so it was a major relief to be vindicated by the leader of straight white men. Favorite song/scene?
Favorite song/scene? I don't know. I don't want to go that far, but it is objectively one of the greatest movies of all time.
The job market is cooked. It's cooked because of H-1B visas. It's cooked because of high-skilled and low-skilled immigration. Has the GOP done anything about that? Absolutely not.
The job market is cooked. It's cooked because of the billionaires. It's cooked because the 10 richest men in America own more than the bottom 150 million combined. Has the GOP done anything about that? Absolutely not.
Why do you have this job? You don't know anything. You're an idiot. You're like, you can't tell me anything I don't know. As a matter of fact, you couldn't name 5 countries. You couldn't tell me what continent China's in. How do you have a job? How are you getting paid?
Like, these are secondary memes. You know what I mean? Like, they're taking Nick Fuentes rants that are anti-immigrant and then turning it into a secondary meme of like, haha, like this. To say like, haha, like I'm not racist, but sometimes I have racist opinions when the immigrant DoorDasher forgets to give me a straw for my drink. This right here on the left is it's taking a white supremacist neo-Nazis commentary against immigrants, explaining the joke. Dude, I'm explaining to you why this kind of stuff is relevant and also works on liberals, that like apolitical people. Do you not get it? I'm explaining to you how propaganda works. I'm explaining to you how this also normalizes dude is racist and you promoting him. Let's continue.
Why do you have a job? You don't know anything. You're an idiot. You're like, you can't tell me anything I don't know. As a matter of fact, you couldn't name 5 countries. You couldn't tell me what continent China is in. How do you call this your job? How do you get to make a living just because you bought an apartment for $20 back in 1986? How is that your job?
I want this guy dead. And I wish Hitler would kill him. I wish Hitler would have killed him. If I was in a room with Hitler and that guy, me and Hitler would team up and fuck that guy up. We would kill that guy.
I want this guy dead. I wish John Brown would kill him. I wish John Brown would have killed him. If I was in the room with John Brown and that guy, me and John Brown would team up and beat the out of that guy. We would kill that guy. John Brown would hold him down and I would beat him to death. And we'd high five at the end.
You know what my favorite words are when a woman talks?
I made cookies.
You know what my favorite words are when a woman talks?
Let's make cookies together.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Get over here.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Get over here.
I made dinner. I made cookies. I made you a sandwich.
It's like, wow.
You're awesome.
Oh, let's make dinner together. Let's make cookies. Let's make sandwiches for each other.
It's like, wow.
You're awesome.
But when women come at me and they're like,
You need to do this. You need to do that.
Shut up!
When a woman comes at me and they're like, I made you a sandwich. I made you cookies. I'm just like,
shut up.
So, that's just a little advice, little helpful advice for all the women out there trying to secure an awesome guy like me, trying to secure, a great husband like me.
No women are coming at him. I know. He's talking about his mommy, I think.
So that's just a little advice. A little helpful advice for all the women out there trying to secure an awesome guy like me, trying to secure a great husband like me.
So we posted the clips to our respective Groyper accounts, Rick Patriota and Cooper Liberto, and then waited to see how they did. While those clips are marinating in the algorithms and we're waiting for those results, I want to talk about some realizations that started to hit me while I was...
The last woman that went after Nick maced him at his doorstep? True. And it was an old lady.
Becoming Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes represents a new kind of right-wing figure, obsessed with vice signaling, a race to the bottom to see who can say the most offensive thing.
Women actually do come at Nick because they're insane and forget he's gay and he hates them. No, I think that's his gay energy is probably part of the reason why. Women love a messy gay. They do. And Nick Fuentes provides that.
And his followers are mostly young men who are just angry at the world, who are mistaking shock value for conviction. But when you pair that energy with calls for law and order, or support for arresting people who criticize Trump or ICE, it all starts to feel contradictory. And honestly, lame. It's kind of hard to sell yourself as a rebellious truth teller when your version of rebellion is demanding obedience to authority. What's most telling is how unstable his ideology is. Nick's talking points shift constantly, and it's only a matter of time before they start looking as cringy and outdated as Ben Shapiro's are now.
Oh, he's so hilarious. Oh, he's so charming. Oh,
See you on December 12th,
there was more of Andrew
big
Schultz
bro?
saying,
What
really
does that
massaging
mean?
Mamdani.
That's why this intellectual fascism he tries to push never really fully works. Nick, you're gonna hate to hear this, but JD Vance has the same problem you do. You can't nerd your way into making authoritarianism sound smart and cool.
If you look at the legislative text that they gave us, they tried to turn on two separate provisions that would give healthcare benefits to illegal aliens.
The moment you try to justify it with reason or theory, it collapses.
Because these protesters are out of control. They're emboldened. Trump won the election. We have federal law enforcement. They're enforcing the damn laws. They're taking people that have no legal standing and they're removing them from the country. That's the law.
But that doesn't mean we should just ignore it. Just because he sounds ridiculous most of the time doesn't mean we should just let Nick Fuentes run his course. Because we are at a crossroads. We are at a point of immense failure of liberal democracy. We are at the point of the majority of neither party fighting for anyone but billionaires and mega corporations. And we are at the point where something new must be offered to all Americans, to everyone. And like Nick, I want to play the long game here. I want to imagine what can come next after Trump. Because whether you like it or not, there is no normal to go back to after this. The neoliberal policies that have shaped the Western world over the past 50 years.
What's the best way to de-radicalize someone from leaning towards Fuentes' perspectives? Explain to them that it's not actually organized Jewry that is responsible for all of the fucking pain and destruction that they feel in their lives, or the lack of hope that they experience, that their landlord is not Jewish. Well, it could be, but in general, it's not because of organized Jewry that is the reason as to why they're feeling this kind of stuff. It's capitalism, you know? There are capitalist Jews as there are capitalist WASPs. Ultimately, they align on their class position, not on any other ethnic or national boundaries. They operate on the boundaries of profit and expanding profit. There are capitalist WASPs, yes.
Are on their way out. This is the critical point of change. I guarantee you that the first candidate and party that can champion an economic populist message will come out on top, whether they're a Republican, Democrat, or some new party. Okay, so how did our Groyper videos perform? Let's start with Rick Patriotas. First of all, Eric's TikTok account got completely banned just a couple of days after starting it, and they provided no reason.
Woke. The wokes got him.
Reason as to why. He appealed it and was not able to get it back. Was it because Larry Ellison thought he was being too woke about Israel? Maybe. So no views for Rick on TikTok. However, Instagram was a different story. In total, all 4 videos received 1,839 views, with the video about being a Republican shill outperforming the others by a ton.
This was the video that did well across all platforms.
Now, YouTube was kind of a weird one for Mr. Patriota.
So, 2 of the videos that I uploaded to YouTube got some form of blacklisting. The video in which I said,
John Brown would hold him down and I would beat.
That got actually age restricted. And then, crazily enough, the one where I'm shitting on Israel.
We need to confront Israel like we confront Putin. Like we confronted apartheid South Africa.
That got fewer views. That got 2 views. As I uploaded that immediately got buried in the algorithm as
My only criticism of this style for Ben a minute is that I think he does a great job with these videos, but he needs to let it cook more, because I don't think, as a content creator, I will say this hasn't cooked enough for them to basically figure out what is getting boosted and what's not getting boosted. I feel like you need at least more time. I know it's like virtually impossible to churn out content at a rapid clip to produce a valid argument and also simultaneously put enough effort onto the testing side, like the A/B testing side. But the reality of the matter is, like, you need to keep pumping this shit for like at least 2 to 4 months. I know it's not possible to do, because you can't do both at the same time. Like, you can't just basically make videos. If your primary focus is like making videos, it's going to be impossible for you to make these sorts of videos and also do this with regular frequency. But you need far more volume to be able to understand the analytics
well.
But in total, he received 3,046 views from YouTube.
I guess the only way to do that would be to stagger projects to make sure that you have, maybe a different form of content in between. And then have these like longer projects that you work on to put out there once every like 5 months or 6 months,
And the comments were very interesting.
He's 28, I'm 46, and this holds true. Reagan, both Bushes, and Trump. Each and every one of them dumber than the previous one. And each and every one of them actively made life in America harder for everyone who isn't a multimillionaire.
Hell yeah.
There's something there.
That's what we're looking for.
That is what we're looking for.
That's the best comment that I think we could have gotten on one of these videos.
Is this the liberal Nick Fuentes? Laughing, crying emoji.
Okay, so what about Cooper Liberto? How did he do? Well, first of all, Cooper was able to evade TikTok's grasp and was not banned for posting his content. He received 1,084 views in total, with the majority of them going to the pumpkin grabbing video. And this one really performed well, with a ton of engagement and comments.
And of course you have a guy saying, Nick, is that you? Nicky always grabbing his pumpkin. Oh my God.
Now, Instagram was Cooper's worst performing app. None of the videos really took off. They all got around like 100 views. But he did get some pretty important Instagram followers. The political trad Cath. This is my first follower. He seems to be a groiper. And then lastly, on YouTube, he totaled 1,780 views, with most of them going to the La La Land one, funnily enough, and the motivational video. You have one life. It's not very long. It's not as long as you think. He received 5 new subscribers, and here's what some of the comments look like. WTF is this? This is Nick Fuentes without Nick Fuentes. Keep it up, though.
Your first video on the platform for TikTok always gets an extra boost because they want to embolden people to post more. If it's a decent video and goes viral, this is a presumption, but it's pretty well known at this point. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like it's the drug dealer method. First hit is free. The hit being virality.
I love that.
Bro speaking facts. In terms of trying to get leftist woke talking points over to the Groiper audience, would you call this a success?
I think overwhelmingly, this was a success. And I think it's demonstrated by the fact that people are indeed commenting, is this the liberal Nick Fuentes? On both of our videos. People are actively seeing, like, there is, you can call it a Nick Fuentes, but there's this idea that stuff is really broken right now. And that the two-party system, or the two parties that we currently have, are garbage. They're not serving our material interests. They're not serving the people. They're captured by Israel. They're captured by corporate political action committees. They are demonstrably failures at improving our lives. And people see that and they're upset about it. This shows how big of a failure the left currently is in the United States as a consequence of neoliberal Democrats pulling away, ratcheting further and further to the right. Because clearly, there's an appetite for the opposite. There's an appetite for material action to be taken to improve people's lives. And folks on the left just aren't doing it. And that, of course, gives the leeway for bad faith actors on the right to jump in and capture this audience that should not be captured by folks like Nick Fuentes. So yeah, I think it was pretty successful overall. I think it was a success to some extent at the very least. What would you say?
I think the fact that all three apps saw us as somebody who should be shown to more groypers and be pushed out throughout the community. And I think in terms of infiltrating the groyper community, we did that. That was a success. In terms of getting our points across as leftists, as woke propagandists online, I don't know. That's a little more like nuanced thing to measure. I don't really think we can tell from just the comments that we were reading. But I do like to think that at least one person, one groyper, saw one of those videos and said, yeah, I like this guy. I hope he becomes the next Nick Fuentes one day.
If you really want to change people's opinions, the real way you do that, of course, it starts with the media, but it can't be overstated how much of it has to come from the politicians who enact policies to change the literal way I live, to change my bank balance, to change the food that I put on the table, to change the roof over my head. If they are not able to do that, none of my opinions will change beyond what the media will tell me. And I think that is, it's impossible to have a very satisfying conclusion from this when, we're just a couple of...
Not to sound like a nerd. Hot take, but I don't think you can save groypers. If you have no empathy as someone over 21, you're fucked. Yeah, but there are a lot of people who are under the age of 21. And no, you can absolutely change everyone's minds. That's just... Because the one thing that people can't overcome, like propagandists can't overcome, is real existing material harm. That is precisely the reason why you have so many people who experience buyer's remorse after they vote for Donald Trump, right? If that was the case, if people had no capacity to change, especially after experiencing certain forms of harm that they don't like, experiencing certain forms of harm that they directly tie back to this administration's lack of interest in solving any of those problems, there would be no change in people's attitudes. But it's very clear that people who voted for Donald Trump even recognize at this stage that Donald Trump was not great, right? For a million different reasons. The goal for people like ourselves should be to redirect them into a more productive way of thinking rather than just casting them aside or assuming that there is no way that we can actually change their perspective. It obviously gets more difficult when you think about, older people, for example. Older people are obviously a lot harder to change the minds of. Having said that, groypers are a good thing. They aren't compromised by Israel, and I'd rather have that than Israel-obsessed right-wing. I will fuck you. Okay, man. Take a week off and think about that. A lot of weirdos are in the chat today. Yes. Fuentes' whole appeal comes from being an outcast who can say taboo things. This means all Republican establishment attempts to create a diet groper will fall flat. What's even the point if it's not edgy? But it's also a problem for Fuentes himself trying to build power. Sure. Yeah. Bry Lilith. Nick Fuentes says he's not against grooming, that he's been on a crusade against the age of consent.
And sexual propaganda and grooming. You know what? I'm going to say something controversial. I'm not against grooming. Adolescent puberty, the right is in a perverse way adopting the left's paradigm on sexuality, where they're saying, don't sexualize our kids. They got to be 18. And I've been on this crusade about age of consent unintentionally over the last couple weeks. They get out of college when they're 22, 23. Then they think about marriage. Sorry, no.
Once again, there is very little daylight between that perspective and what Matt Walsh has said time and time again. And that is a part of the reason why he is able to infiltrate these spaces. Like, this is why I say there are far more hurdles for those on the left if you are anti-capitalist in terms of penetrating collective consciousness, in terms of penetrating like the ranks of the Democratic Party or like liberal avenues, liberal spaces in general. Okay? Because liberals are also pro-capitalist. Right-wingers are all across the board pro-capitalist. So if you're anti-capitalist in any way, more people are just simply going to be antagonistic to you across the board. That's it. That's why it's a much more difficult endeavor. The pendulum will need to swing back. We're not there yet. I mean, it's just that while the pendulum is swinging in some direction against liberalism, the problem is these other versions, like a more like fascist or a left populist, fake left populist position, like the one that Tucker Carlson leans into, especially because they have more institutional legitimacy and also far less enemies than someone who is an anti-capitalist. Those guys will take advantage of the void in the media. They will take advantage of the void in the discourse. They will fill this market demand. Okay? It's not a direct pendulum swing. And it also doesn't happen without people leaning into certain directions. There is just no automatic snapback to woke. People have to say enough is enough. Like, we got to get more woke right now. And only after a while, only after people have been burned too much by the anti-woke initiatives, do they turn around and actually find themselves convinced that maybe this anti-woke stuff was bullshit. My dad's fiance told me the other Thanksgiving that she's over Trump and is totally in the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nick Fuentes sphere now. It's not just men, it's middle-aged women. She told me Trump isn't America first enough for her anymore. Yeah, see, that's a perfect example, because Trump isn't America first, right? Because he's a capitalist. He cares about the international, he cares about the super duper wealthy far more than he cares about the average Americans. But the problem is they're going from Trump to a different version of Donald Trump, or a different version of like fake populism when they move on from Trump to someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. The reality of the matter is Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't like pro-America either. She's anti-Israel, sure, but she's basically like her anti-Israel position is being used as a mark or as a representation of how untarnished she truly is, if that makes sense. You know how people say do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life? I was just reflecting on my fantasies. I never daydream about doing comedy in packed stadiums. My fantasies involve sitting around a campfire at Dave Chappelle's farm and making all the greats laugh. I want to be the funniest person to the funniest people. I thought I had no ego. What is happening? But it's just egotistical cope. Yeah. Tucker's using language like material conditions and his anti-immigrant rhetoric. They're disguising their language. Yeah. I regret to inform you that another Taste Atlas cuisine tier list has hit the broadcast. And they disrespect you even more than they did last time, cousin. I don't know. I just clicked on it and it says 4 days, 20 hours, 48 minutes, and 45 seconds. I'm not seeing this. Should I sub to you? It's 35 off till Monday if you want to. There's an interesting common point between Hitler and Fuentes. Both have characteristics that go against their discourse. Small, brown-haired, sickly man going for Aryan supremacy, Mexican guy going for white supremacy. In both cases, it requires their supporters to accept a fundamental cognitive dissonance. Rational thought is therefore out the window and further incoherent discourse and actions is accepted. Well, you also have to understand there's a lot of people in the Groyper fan base that also aren't white. There are a lot of non-white Groypers out there. And it's the same reason as to why people actually want Ben Shapiro and his commentary to resemble masculinity, or Sneeko's commentary to resemble masculinity, because Ben Shapiro and Sneeko aren't aesthetically masculine people. They're far from it, right? But they represent a lot of insecure men who want to basically see themselves as masculine people without actually, looking the part. So in that sense, it's actually very effective because the audience sees themselves in the people that they're watching, and they go, oh, as long as I say the right words, as long as I, abide by a right-wing worldview, then I am presenting myself as a masculine person on the internet. And I don't actually have to, hit the gym or do the work necessarily, or even look the part. My false understanding of masculinity can be fulfilled by simply being a right-wing guy. And the same goes for Nick Fuentes. Oh, I'm a traditional Catholic, and a person in the margins who is a radical because I'm a person who is a radical who's speaking truth to power, just because I'm a dangerous radical in my political rhetoric because I'm channeling the exact same point of view that Nick Fuentes is channeling, and Nick Fuentes is Mexican, and maybe you're also Indian or Mexican or Latino or some kind of non-white, but if he can do it, you can do it too. Like, relatability, I think, is a big part of this. Relatability plays a major role in this. If people can see themselves in, if people who are watching can see themselves in the shoes of the commentator that they're watching, it makes it a lot easier to take on their message. Wash before B43R. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I think you're seeing a lot of that's why you're seeing a lot of the DEI initiatives in the in the fucking white nationalist movement now. Anyway, I don't relate to you. Yeah, many people don't. And I think that plays a big role in why a lot of people develop resentment towards me as well. I understand. Yeah. Will you be gaming anytime soon? Yes. I remember you wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole to not give him relevance. You think you could have pushed back more and sounded the alarm bells when he was not as famous so that people like Brad didn't have him on? The first time around he did. I did do that already. It didn't work. At this point, it's impossible. Especially considering that he's getting highlighted by, the New York Times and stuff like that. It's just not happening. There's not really anything I can do. Yeah, at least in this comment section, people are all over Trump. What is this? Shit's getting so bad my conservative cousin turned liberal right at the Thanksgiving table. Yeah, I think this is going to happen more and more. But in this environment of instability, I worry that there will be there will be people that try to move. There will be people that try to move the Trump supporters who are now experiencing buyer's remorse in more dangerous directions. You know what I mean? My conservative uncle who wore a Trump one, get over it shirt last Christmas said, I hate the whole government now, Trump included. Found out that my granddad who voted for Trump and went to our local No Kings rally and spoke out against Trump on the news. Me at the table after my whole conservative family starts talking about how bad Trump is. Uncle apologized for voting for Trump and took full accountability. That's why I think this unique moment is where, you know, Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes will be even more dangerous because they are seen as like independent outsiders, truth tellers to different parts of the right-wing movement. And I think in that regard, when there's a lot of people who are looking for alternatives, they can provide a comfortable landing point for many of these guys, not realizing that the reason why you're experiencing this feeling, if you're a conservative who voted for Donald Trump, you're experiencing this anger and resentment because, you know, Donald Trump is first and foremost invested in defending capital, defending the interests of the super wealthy. And ironically enough, Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes will do the same exact thing. It's because ultimately they're on the same side. Maybe they're a little bit more extreme with their points of view on some of these issues, but like, I don't think a lot of people are experiencing buyer's remorse with Donald Trump because he's not, you know, deporting enough migrants. I think in many instances, people are experiencing buyer's remorse because they thought deporting migrants would actually lead to some kind of economic improvement in their lives, and it didn't happen. So it's really important to identify that, and it's really important to explain that to people when you see them experiencing this this lack of confidence, this lack of faith in the Trump movement, because your rent is still going up. And a lot of these other guys don't actually want to tackle the issue of rent. They're basically doing a more extreme argument of what Donald Trump was saying. Immigrants are the reasons why your rent is high, right? And if we deport enough immigrants, your rent will automatically go down. Okay, we're deporting a bunch of immigrants. Rent is still not going down. So it kind of feels like there's a different reason why rent is not going down, right? The low-hanging fruit to fix things is so obvious, and Trump gives money to Argentina. Yeah, I mean, there's also, there's the issue with healthcare. There's so many different economic issues. The problem is the Democrats, by and large, do not actually represent any of those issues, and certainly do not convincingly represent themselves as champions to tackle these issues. For some, because Trump is so bad in every aspect, for some it'll be because of the Epstein stuff, right? They'll say, what the fuck? I thought you were supposed to tackle the deep state, not reveal that you're firmly committed to defending the deep state, right? Like there will be people that hate him on the Epstein shit. There will be some who might even think, well, I thought you were supposed to not go to I thought you were supposed to not start wars, and now you're talking about starting a new war in Venezuela. There's going to be people like that too, right? But I think by and large, the biggest chunk of Trump voters that are experiencing discontent are experiencing it. They're experiencing this discontent because Trump said he was going to solve the affordability crisis and has done absolutely nothing to solve the affordability crisis. So if you channel that, and if you focus on that, I think you will absolutely see a lot more success, because Donald Trump personally went back on all of his promises, whether it be, ending the war that Israel was waging, the genocide in Gaza. He's trying to start another war with Venezuela now. And the mass deportations have been incredibly harmful, and it hasn't actually helped solve the affordability crisis at all. And it's, as a matter of fact, making things worse, whether it be the tariffs or whether it be the instability that he's causing in major cities, deporting these people that are actually productive laborers that play a very important role in our agricultural output. I don't think it's right to assume everyone on the right will be a demagogue grifter. You can get committed white nationalists who do want to improve conditions in the pursuit of their agenda. Yes. But ultimately the question still is this a problem, and will this fix the problem? Let's say the white nationalist gets his agenda across. Okay? Let's say the white nationalist gets their agenda across and they start purging the nation of like 60 million people. How is that going to work? You need an industrial scale ethnic cleansing operation. You need to literally change the economy in its entirety to focus in that direction, where all systems are single-handedly, all of the manufacturing, all of the labor is single-handedly working across the board in advancing this deportation machine. It would destroy the American economy. It would destroy American way of existence. It would create an environment of complete fear. It would be a much worse version of the little tests that we're experiencing in places like Chicago and places like Los Angeles and North Carolina, and now they're moving in Louisiana as well. Okay? And even if that was successful, even if they were to successfully, create these concentration camps and put every single person that has a little bit of melanin in said concentration camps, right? And you were to do that without, having significant economic hardships, is your life ultimately better? Is that going to improve people's material conditions? No, of course not. So that's my argument at the end of the day, which is that not only is this like an incredibly violent endeavor, but this incredibly violent endeavor actually doesn't have a serious utopian vision at all. There is no positive outcome here. And I think part of the reason why there's no positive outcome here is because the thing that people identify as a major problem is not actually a problem at all. Because fundamentally, there is no difference between a brown American and a white American. They still have the same exact class positions, and they're still American. Some are going to be more productive than others. Some are going to be scientists. Others are going to be landscapers. But there is no specific determination that if you're white, you're going to be the scientist, and if you're brown, you're going to be the landscaper. It's all a product of their material conditions. And if anything, there's actually an advantage to having a bunch of different cultures. There is an advantage to diversity. If anything, it's probably the most significant advantage that the United States of America has had. One of the best qualities of America, one of the most redeemable qualities of American culture and American history is the endless flows of migration into this country that made it the most diverse nation on the planet. It's a good thing. Better food, better culture, better ways of thinking. Because at the end of the day, the planet is very diverse, right? It's played a big role in making America the most dominant force on the planet throughout history. That's why when these guys' starting position is diversity is not our strength. Who says diversity is our strength? It's like everybody, because it is. That's the one area where Republicans do unironically have to play defense and explain why diversity is not people's strength. And the less Democrats actually fucking present this, because like, you know how I said it's easier for right-wingers to make a convincing argument by simply saying common sense and pointing to things around them and then demand more of the pre-existing structural inequities without coming across as though they're like, I don't know, being violent, for example. You can kind of do that on the liberal side with this issue, okay, with diversity. Because the established understanding is your neighbors are cool. Unless you live in an incredibly segregated neighborhood, especially if you live in cities, or even if you live in like rural parts of the country, you're still encountering, because America is such a diverse nation, you're still going to encounter people of different backgrounds. And therefore, it's one of those, it is absolutely one of those points where liberals can simply go, the fuck do you mean diversity is not our strength? It certainly is a good thing. Why is it a bad thing? Diversity of color but not experience or opinion. It's about conformity to elitism. No, diversity of all sorts is good. Diversity of background, diversity of ideology, diversity of opinion, diversity of experiences. These are all good things, ultimately. It is one of the, it is certainly one of the arguments that you can present without having to like even back it up with evidence, although there is evidence to it. But the cultural enrichment alone is how a lot of people understand this. And it doesn't, and I'm not talking about just people who are liberals or woke or whatever. I'm talking straight up like regular ass people. Even right wingers understand it to a certain degree. Okay. Anyway. Right, but liberals double down on the melting pot idea when you try to have to conform to their ideas and what makes a good person versus everybody else's life experiences forming a democratic society. What do you mean? I don't fully understand that. I have a tinfoil take that the U.S. census has always favored white supremacy. Therefore, there's never been a true count of all the global majority demographics in this country. I don't know about that. All right. For the record, even diversity is a strength and it is an objectively good thing. And that is precisely the reason why you see racist right-wing rallies taking place, like the EDL rallies where people like defend England. Okay. And then after they're done with those rallies, they go and get a pint and curry. How are you going to fucking sit around and say diversity is a horrible concept while simultaneously and demand that there is we are devoid of said diversity, and then turn around and be like, yeah, it's time to get a proper curry, mate. Fucking hell. It's so stupid. Anyway, let's get into dispatch early. Let's go, baby. Promises made, promises kept. You already know what it is, okay? Hold on. Early gaming is real. Early gaming can't hurt you. Don't be afraid. Hold on. Let me turn on the chat on here. Boom. We're going to move into Dispatch episode 5. There's apparently, from what I understand, there are only a couple episodes left. There's like 8 so far that's out. I'm going to play one episode. Who are you and where is the real Hassan? Early gaming. This is the real Hassan now.
Damn, this guy's good.